Okay, Fundamental 5, Chapter 9, Encore. When the authors present to large groups, a question that is frequently asked is, so how do you really do this in a given class? In response to that question, the authors share the Big Easy Secret Plan for Stress-Free Instruction, which was scripted by Dr. Jim Davis and is presented below. Prior to the class, the teacher should preview the scope and sequence. It's number 1. Number 2, frame the lesson. Remember, component A is today we will. Component B, I will. Write critically, for example. 3, plan or select one mid to high rigor question to ask the students. In parentheses, frequent small group purposeful talk about the learning. During the class, the teacher should 1, greet the students at the classroom door, welcome them to class and shake their hands. That's recognize and reinforce. 2, read the lesson frame to the class, frame the lesson. Move to the power zone and start the lesson, working in the power zone. Number 4, at a point near the middle of the class period, stop, have the students turn to their neighbor, ask the students to discuss the mid to high rigor question that was pre-selected. Let the students talk in their small group for 2 minutes. Frequent small group purposeful talk about the learning. 5, remain in the power zone and monitor the students' conversations. Work in the power zone. Frequent small group purposeful talk about the learning and additional opportunities to recognize and reinforce. Number 6, cue the students to conclude their conversation. Number 7, compliment the students on their effort and behavior. If a student made a really good point in his or her discussion, have the student share the discussion point with the class to recognize and reinforce. Number 8, have the students continue with the planned instruction and activities. While the students are working, wander through the room, checking the progress of the individual students. Work in the power zone, continue to recognize and reinforce. Number 9, with 5 minutes left in the class period, give the students an index card or post-it note. Have the students answer the closing question in 3 to 6 sentences. It's writing critically and framing the lesson. Number 10, collect the index cards or post-it notes at the door as the students exit the class. After the class, the teacher should 1, scan the written responses. 2, use the information from the students' writing to create the warm-up activity for the next time the class meets. As one can see, the Big Easy Secret Plan for Stress-Free Instruction provides structure to the class period and embeds all Fundamental 5 instructional practices within almost any activity the teacher may have planned in a non-intrusive and authentic fashion. Stories from the field. One of the authors, Sean Kane, was conducting Fundamental 5 training on a campus with a number of experienced staff members. The training was spread out over a number of weeks, with teachers receiving training, then working to implement the training, then debriefing on the experience before adding one more of the practices. Session after session, one veteran teacher in particular was seemingly not interested in anything that Kane had to say. But being a professional, she would sit quietly and go back to her classroom and give a cursory attempt to implement the practice that was presented. On the day of the last training session, as Kane was walking out the door, he passed the tough, seen it all more than once teacher, and she said, "Kane, don't tell my principal because I'll never hear the end of it, but this stuff really works." What better endorsement could one receive?